Be me, Kathy, 37 years old, Director of Operations at tech consulting firm. Finally in a position where I can make real change. Been fighting the patriarchy my whole career. Now it's time to level the playing field. Company gives me budget to expand my team from 3 people to 15. This is my chance to create the workplace I've always dreamed of. Going to hire exclusively women to show everyone what we're capable of. Tired of seeing qualified women passed over for mediocre men. Time to flip the script. Start posting job listings for software engineers, project managers, data analysts. Get hundreds of applications. Immediately filter out all male applicants without even looking. Don't care if they have perfect qualifications. This is about justice and representation. HR Director Randy comes to my office. Kathy, I noticed you've only been interviewing female candidates. Want to make sure we're following equal opportunity guidelines here. Roll my eyes so hard they practically fall out. Randy, for decades this industry has been a boys' club. I'm simply correcting historical imbalances. He looks uncomfortable. I understand your perspective, but we need to consider all qualified candidates regardless of what? Gender? That's rich coming from you. He tries to say something else, but I cut him off. I know exactly what I'm doing. This is my department and my decision. Continue with my hiring plan. Interview Sarah, fresh out of coding boot camp. Barely knows JavaScript, but she's enthusiastic. Hire her as senior software engineer because potential matters more than current skill. Interview Jessica for project manager role. Has never managed a project in her life, but she's confident. Hire her immediately. Interview after interview of women. Some have relevant experience, others don't. Doesn't matter to me. What matters is breaking down barriers. Hire 12 women total for various technical roles. Feel incredibly proud of myself. First team meeting with my new all-female squad. Ladies, we're going to show this company what women can do when given a real chance. Everyone nods enthusiastically. Outline our first major project. Complete system migration for our biggest client, worth $2.3 million to the company. Timeline is aggressive, but I have faith in girl power. Send company-wide email announcing my team. Excited to introduce our newly expanded operations team. I'm particularly proud that we've achieved perfect gender balance in our hiring. Get some congratulatory responses. Also get a few side-eye looks in the hallway. Whatever. Haters gonna hate. Week 1 of the project. Sarah admits she's never worked with our primary database system. Jessica doesn't understand basic project management software. Emma, our new data analyst, asks what SQL stands for. No big deal. They'll learn on the job. That's how innovation happens. Randy stops by again. How's the team settling in? Fantastic. We're going to revolutionize how this company approaches complex projects. He raises an eyebrow. I see. Well, if you need any support or resources for training, we don't need training. We need confidence and opportunity, both of which I'm providing. Week 3. Client emails asking for status update. Jessica panics because she hasn't set up any tracking systems. Sarah has only written 200 lines of code and half of it doesn't compile. Tell them not to worry. We're just getting warmed up. Strong women always deliver under pressure. Overhear conversation in break room. 2 guys from accounting talking. Did you see they threw out Mike's application? Guy has 10 years experience and a master's degree. Yeah, and they hired that girl who thought Python was an actual snake. March over there. Excuse me, but your casual sexism is showing. Maybe focus on your own spreadsheets instead of undermining my team. They walk away looking confused. Typical male fragility. Month 2. Project is seriously behind schedule. Client getting impatient. CEO David sends email asking for detailed progress report. This is fine, just need to manage expectations. Respond with corporate buzzwords about agile methodologies and innovative approaches. Jessica comes to my office crying. Kathy, I don't think I can do this. The technical requirements are way beyond what I know. Put my arm around her. Jessica, imposter syndrome is just internalized patriarchy talking. You belong here as much as anyone. She sniffles. But I literally don't know how to use Microsoft Project, or Excel, or really any of the tools they want me to use. Tools are just tools. What matters is vision and determination. Month 3. System migration was supposed to be complete. Instead, we've somehow corrupted the client's existing database. Their entire operation is down for 2 days. They're threatening to sue. This is clearly just stress making everyone irrational. Emergency meeting with client. Bring Jessica and Sarah for support. Client CEO is furious. Your team deleted 3 years of customer data. How do you explain this? Explain that sometimes innovation requires breaking a few eggs. Also mention that aggressive male energy in meetings makes it hard for women to perform their best. Somehow this doesn't calm him down. Meeting ends with him storming out. Back at office, David's secretary calls. Mr. David wants to see you in his office immediately. Finally, probably wants to congratulate me on taking bold chances. Maybe even a promotion for my innovative leadership. Walk into David's office. He's pacing behind his desk like a caged animal. Face is red, veins bulging in his forehead. Definitely more angry than I expected. Sit down, Kathy. His voice is barely controlled rage. Take a seat, confused by his hostility. Is everything all right, David? You seem tense. He stops pacing and stares at me. Tense? Tense? Kathy, your department just cost us our biggest client. They're threatening a $5 million lawsuit. Our reputation in the industry is in shambles. Wow, he's really overreacting. David, every great innovation comes with growing pains. We're disrupting traditional... Stop. He slams his hand on the desk. Just stop with the buzzwords. I want you to explain to me exactly what happened with this project. Explain about how we were pushing boundaries and challenging conventional approaches. His face gets redder with every word. Kathy, they hired us to migrate their systems safely. Instead, you corrupted their entire database. Their business was shut down for 48 hours. These things happen when you're not just following the same old playbook. No, these things happen when incompetent people are put in positions they can't handle. Feel my defenses rising. That's a very problematic thing to say about my team, David. He looks at me like I just spoke in tongues. Problematic? Kathy, I've been getting reports for weeks. Your senior engineer doesn't know basic programming languages. Your project manager had never managed anything more complex than her grocery shopping. You're being incredibly unfair. These women just need time to... Time. We gave them 3 months and they destroyed everything they touched. He pulls out a folder. I've been doing some research, Kathy. Want to know what I found? Honestly curious what he's discovered. Probably just typical corporate paranoia. I found out that you didn't hire a single male candidate. Not one. Out of 847 applications, you interviewed 0 men. Shrug. I hired the best candidates for the job. The best candidates? He opens the folder. Randy gave me copies of all the applications you rejected. Want to hear about some of these inferior candidates you passed over? This feels like a witch hunt, but go ahead. Robert Williams, 15 years experience, led successful migrations at 3 Fortune 500 companies. MIT graduate. Academic credentials don't guarantee. James Martinez, built the exact same database system our client uses. Worked there for 8 years before they downsized. Just because someone has experience doesn't mean. Michael Thompson, literally wrote the software manual for the tools your team couldn't figure out. Starting to feel attacked. David, you're missing the bigger picture here. This isn't about individual qualifications. Then what is it about, Kathy? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you hired people based solely on their gender. Time to be honest. Yes, I prioritize gender in my hiring decisions, and I'm not ashamed of that. His jaw drops. You admit you discriminated based on gender? I corrected historical imbalances. For too long, qualified women have been passed over for. So you decided to pass over qualified men instead? It's not the same thing. How is it not exactly the same thing? He sits down, rubbing his temples. Kathy, do you understand that what you did was illegal? Setting aside the moral implications, you've exposed this company to massive discrimination lawsuits. Roll my eyes. No one's going to sue over this. Are you insane? I already have 3 attorneys calling about the men you rejected. Robert Williams is preparing a discrimination case. James Martinez's lawyer sent a letter this morning. This is getting blown out of proportion. Those are just intimidation tactics. Kathy, you rejected a man with perfect qualifications who could have saved this project and hired a woman who thought SQL was a type of fish. You're exaggerating. Am I? Because I have Jessica's interview transcript right here. Pulls out another document. Question. Describe your experience with database management. Answer. I'm a very organized person and I love managing things. That's taken out of context. She was nervous. Interviews are stressful. Question. What's your experience with agile methodology? Answer. I do yoga, so I'm pretty flexible. Okay, that one sounds bad. She was trying to show personality. Kathy. She thought a project timeline was something you hung on your wall. He's cherry-picking the worst moments. Everyone has room to grow. Grow? We gave her a $2.3 million project to learn on. His voice is getting louder. I trusted her potential over her current limitations. Her potential? She destroyed our client's entire business. Getting tired of his hysteria. David, you're being incredibly dramatic. Yes, there were some hiccups, but... Hiccups? He stands up so fast his chair flies backward. 3 years of customer data. Gone. Their entire inventory system. Corrupted. Their payroll database. Wiped. These are temporary setbacks that can be... They had to restore from backups from 2019. They lost 4 years of business data. Technology problems can always be. They're suing us for $5 million. He's really worked up about this. David, maybe you should take some deep breaths. Your aggressive energy is making it hard for me to... My aggressive energy? Veins are literally popping out of his forehead now. Kathy, let me explain something to you. This company employs 847 people. All of their jobs depend on us, maintaining our reputation and keeping clients happy. I understand that, but... No, you clearly don't understand anything. He starts pacing again. Do you know how long it took me to build relationships with these clients? 15 years? 15 years of delivering quality work, meeting deadlines, solving problems. And now we're expanding those relationships by showing we value. Value? We're showing them we value incompetence over excellence. Leans forward on his desk. I got a call this morning from 3 other clients. They heard about the data destruction. We're considering their partnerships with us. Clients can be very reactionary. Once the dust settles, they'll see we were just trying something new. Something new? Kathy, hiring incompetent people isn't innovative. It's stupid. That's a very harsh way to describe my team. These women aren't incompetent. They're learning. At our client's expense. At my company's expense. Pulls out his phone. Want to hear what our client said about your learning team? Plays a voicemail. David, this is the worst disaster I've seen in 20 years of business. Your team destroyed everything. We trusted you and you sent us amateurs. That's just one perspective. David, angry clients often exaggerate. Exaggerate? They lost everything. Slams his phone down. And do you know what the worst part is? Honestly curious what he thinks the worst part is. The worst part is that you don't even care. Of course I care. I care about creating opportunities. You care about your ideology more than this company. That's an unfair characterization. I care about justice and equality. Justice? What's just about hiring unqualified people? They weren't unqualified. They were underestimated. Sarah had never written code professionally in her life. She had completed a coding boot camp, an 8-week boot camp, and you made her senior engineer. She had enthusiasm and potential. Potential doesn't write code. He opens his laptop. Want to see what your potential accomplished? Shows me lines of code. This is what Sarah wrote for the database migration. Look at the screen. It's all technical gibberish to me. I'm not a programmer. I can't evaluate. This code deletes everything in the database. Everything. She wrote a deletion script instead of a migration script. That seems like a simple mistake. Everyone makes errors when they're learning. This isn't an error. This is like giving someone a loaded gun when they asked for a stapler. Getting frustrated with his metaphors. You're being incredibly overdramatic. Overdramatic? She destroyed everything because she literally didn't know what she was doing. He scrolls through more code. Look at this. She tried to connect to the database by Googling how to connect database and copying the first result. Self-directed learning shows initiative. It shows she had no business touching a production system. Sits back down, looks exhausted. Kathy, I've been in this industry for 25 years. I've never seen anything like this. Maybe that's because you've never seen what happens when women are given real opportunities. Real opportunities? I gave your team every resource they needed. You gave us impossible timelines and unrealistic expectations. The timeline was standard. We've completed dozens of similar projects. With different teams. With competent teams. His phone rings. Answers angrily. What? Another client wants to cancel? When? Today? Listens for a moment. How much revenue is that? 2 million annually? Hangs up. Looks at me with pure fury. Congratulations, Kathy. That's our 3rd client cancellation this week. Clients are just panicking unnecessarily. David, this will all blow over once people see the bigger picture. The bigger picture? The bigger picture is that your gender-based hiring experiment has destroyed my company. That's a very narrow way to look at. Narrow? Stands up again. Let me tell you what's narrow. Rejecting 800 qualified candidates because of their gender is narrow. I was correcting systemic inequalities. You were discriminating. It's not discrimination when you're leveling the playing field. Yes, it is. Discrimination is discrimination regardless of your motivation. That's not how systemic oppression works. I don't care how you rationalize it. He pulls out another folder. Do you want to know what this whole disaster is going to cost us? Probably just some accounting estimates. The lawsuit alone will be 5 million minimum. You said that already. The lost clients represent 12 million in annual revenue. That seems high. And the reputation damage the other clients will lose when word gets out. Conservative estimate is 30 million over the next 3 years. Those numbers sound made up. David, you're catastrophizing. Business goes up and down. Up and down? We're looking at bankruptcy. That's incredibly dramatic. It's incredibly realistic. We were profitable before your experiment. Correlation isn't causation. Causation? Your team literally deleted our client's data. He sits down, puts his head in his hands. Kathy, I need you to help me understand something. Finally, maybe he wants to have a rational conversation. I'm listening. When you decided to hire based on gender instead of qualifications, did you think about the consequences? I thought about the consequences of not hiring qualified women. But did you think about what would happen if your team couldn't do the job? Honestly, hadn't considered that possibility. I had faith in their abilities. Based on what? What evidence did you have that they could handle these projects? I believed in their potential. Potential isn't evidence. David, sometimes you have to take risks to create change. Risks? You bet my entire company on your social experiment. It wasn't a social experiment, it was justice. Justice? What's just about destroying people's livelihoods? He stands up and walks to the window. Do you know how many people work here, Kathy? 800 and something. 847. Each one has families, mortgages, dreams. I understand that. Do you? Because your justice might put all of them out of work. You're being incredibly pessimistic. I'm being realistic. Turns around to face me. I've spent 25 years building this company. 25 years of 60-hour weeks, missed family dinners, sacrificed weekends. And now you have the opportunity to make it more equitable. Equitable? There's nothing equitable about incompetence. David, you're focusing too much on short-term setbacks. Short-term, we may not survive this. The company will recover. Not if I can't trust my department heads to make rational decisions. That feels like a personal attack. My decisions were completely rational. Rational? You hired someone who thought Java was a coffee order. Emma was nervous during her interview. She didn't know what programming was. She was willing to learn. Learn? We needed someone who already knew. That's just gatekeeping disguised as standards. Standards exist for a reason. He goes back to his desk, pulls out more papers. Let me read you some quotes from your team members. Honestly curious what they've been saying. Sarah, when asked about the database corruption, I thought delete meant delete the bad stuff. That shows she was trying to help. Jessica, when asked about project timelines, I figured if we needed more time, we could just ask for it. That shows flexibility and communication skills. Communication? She never told the client they were 3 weeks behind. Maybe she didn't want to worry them unnecessarily. Didn't want to worry them? They were planning their business around our timeline. These are just growing pains. Growing pains don't cost $5 million. His phone rings again. Answers with barely contained rage. What now? The insurance company won't cover it? Why not? Gross negligence? Listens. So we're liable for everything, the full amount? Hangs up, looks at me with something beyond anger. Our insurance won't cover the lawsuit because they're calling it gross negligence. Insurance companies always look for excuses. We can fight that determination. With what money? The money we'll lose defending against discrimination lawsuits? You're spiraling, David. This situation is manageable. Manageable? I have lawyers calling every hour, clients canceling contracts, employees panicking about layoffs. All temporary problems. Temporary? He pounds his desk. Kathy, I need you to understand something. This company is my life's work, and now it can be your legacy of promoting equality. My legacy is going to be bankruptcy caused by ideological hiring. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Is it fair that 800 employees might lose their jobs because you wanted to prove a point? I wasn't proving a point. I was creating opportunities. For 12 people, at the expense of everyone else. He walks around his desk toward me. Kathy, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I want a direct answer. Nod, though his intensity is making me uncomfortable. If you had to do it over again, knowing what you know now, would you still hire based on gender instead of qualifications? Think about it for a moment. Consider the damage, the lawsuits, the lost clients. But also think about the principle, the message, the precedent. Yes. He stares at me for a long moment. Yes? Yes. The principle matters more than the temporary consequences. Temporary consequences? We might go out of business, but we'll have done the right thing. His face goes completely white, then red, then purple. The right thing? Yes. Destroying people's livelihoods is the right thing. Fighting systemic oppression sometimes requires sacrifice. He doesn't say anything for almost a minute, just stares at me like I'm an alien. Finally speaks in a whisper. Get out. Excuse me? Get out of my office. David, if you'd just listen to reason. Get out. He's shouting now. You're fired, Kathy. Clear out your desk and leave. This is completely unfair. You can't fire me for promoting equality. I'm firing you for gross negligence and discrimination. Discrimination? I was fighting discrimination. You were discriminating against men, against qualified candidates. That's not how discrimination works. Yes, it is. He picks up his phone. Security, I need someone to escort Kathy from the building, now. This is a massive overreaction. David, you're making a huge mistake. The mistake was trusting you with hiring decisions. Security guard appears at the door. Ma'am, I need you to come with me. This is humiliating and completely unnecessary. I can walk myself out. No, you can't. You're being escorted. David follows us to my office. Watches while I pack my personal items. 25 years, Kathy. 25 years building something meaningful. You still have the company. Barely. Finish packing. Security guard gestures toward the exit. Walk through the office while everyone stares. Can hear whispers and see pointing. This is all just misplaced anger and scapegoating. At the elevator, David appears one last time. Kathy, I hope someday you understand what you've done. I understand perfectly. I tried to create change and threaten the status quo. You destroyed everything for ideology. I stood up for my principles. Elevator doors close. Last thing I see is David shaking his head. Honestly, he'll probably thank me someday when he realizes how important this moment was. 6 months later. See news article online. David's company filed for bankruptcy. 847 people lost their jobs. Still not my fault. Systemic change is always difficult. Someone had to take a stand. Apply for new jobs. Keep getting rejected for mysterious reasons. Probably blacklisted by the old boys network. Typical retaliation against women who challenge the system. My principles remain intact, though. That's what really matters. Sometimes wonder what would have happened if I'd hired differently. But then remember that compromise is just another form of oppression. No regrets. Still proud of the stand I took, even if no one else understands it yet.
Be me, 24F? Not to toot my own horn, but I'm what you'd call a catch. Solid 8 out of 10 on a good day, 7 on a bad one. Hair is on point, got my skincare routine down to a science. Got a decent job in marketing. It's mostly just making PowerPoints and pretending to laugh at my boss's boomer jokes, but it pays for my brunch habit and my ever-expanding collection of throw pillows. Life is, for the most part, pretty good. The centerpiece of this good life is my boyfriend, Liam. Be him, 25. Liam is perfect. Or he was. He's a software engineer, which means he's smart and makes good money. Automatic points. He's tall, not like a lanky praying mantis, but a solid, comforting tall. Has a nice beard he keeps trimmed. Looks good in a flannel. We met 2.5 years ago through a dating app. One of the classy ones, not the cesspool ones. Our first date was at this cute little Italian place downtown. He was nervous. I was charming. He laughed at all my jokes, even the bad ones. He paid. It was textbook. The first year was a whirlwind. A montage you'd see in a rom-com. Weekend trips to the coast. Picnics in the park where he'd pretend to like my quinoa salad. Binge-watching entire seasons of shows in a single weekend. Cuddled up under a blanket. He'd leave little notes for me on the bathroom mirror. I'd make him his favorite breakfast on Sundays. He remembered my coffee order. I remembered his favorite sports team. It was disgustingly perfect. My friends were jealous. His friends were, well, we'll get to them. About a year in, we decided to take the next step, moving in together. We found this great 2-bedroom apartment. Big windows, a little balcony. I had visions of us drinking wine on that balcony, watching the sunset. He had visions of turning the second bedroom into a home office/man cave. A small red flag, but I ignored it. Compromise, right? The first few months of living together were bliss. It was like a permanent sleepover with your best friend who you also get to sleep with. We fell into a comfortable routine. Work, gym, come home, cook dinner together. Or, more accurately, I'd cook, and he'd do a terrible job of chopping vegetables, and I'd lovingly tease him about it. Watch a movie, fall asleep on the couch, move to the bed. Life was settled. I was looking at rings on Pinterest. Not in a crazy way, just planning. And then, the cracks began to show. They were small at first. Hairline fractures in our perfect little world. And they all had names. Dave, Mark, and Chris. Liam's friends. The nerd herd. The fellowship of the unshowered. I had met them before, of course. In small, manageable doses. They'd come over to watch a game, or we'd meet them out for a beer. They seemed harmless enough. Awkward, but harmless. Dave was the ringleader. He was the dungeon master, a title he took far too seriously. Short, round, with a beard that looked like a bird's nest, and glasses perpetually smudged. He spoke with a weird, theatrical cadence, like he was narrating an audiobook no one wanted to listen to. Mark was the Warhammer guy. Skinny, pale, and intense. He had this habit of staring at things for too long, like he was calculating their tactical advantages. He always had flecks of paint on his hands and under his fingernails. Chris was the magic, the gathering guru. He was the quiet one, but he had this air of smug superiority. He'd just sit there, shuffling a deck of cards over and over. The sound was like a million tiny whispers, slowly driving me insane. Their designated day was Friday, D&D night. At first it was fine. It was his one night. I'd have the apartment to myself. I'd order sushi, put on a face mask, and watch reality TV shows that he hated. It was my girl night in. He'd come home around midnight, smelling faintly of Mountain Dew and basement. He'd be energized, talking a mile a minute about beholders and critical hits and other nonsense I didn't understand. I'd just smile and nod. That's nice, honey. But then, Friday night began to bleed. It started subtly. Hey, babe, the session's running a little late. We're in a big boss fight. Don't wait up. Midnight became 1 a.m., then 2 a.m. Then it started encroaching on Saturday. Hey, babe, we didn't finish the dungeon last night. The guys are going to come over for a few hours to wrap it up. A few hours meant from noon until dinner. My quiet Saturdays, our Saturdays, were now filled with the sound of Dave's booming voice, the clatter of dice, and the occasional triumphant or despairing shout. The living room, my beautifully curated living room with the sage green accent wall and the carefully chosen art prints, became a dungeon. They'd bring snacks, Doritos, Cheetos, anything that leaves a fine orange powder on every surface. I started finding stray dice in the couch cushions. Weird multi-sided dice that looked like rejected jewels. I tried to be the cool girlfriend. I really did. One Saturday, I made them a pitcher of iced tea. Oh, thanks, Dave said, not even looking up from the weird screen he hid behind. But we've got a 2-liter of Code Red. I put the iced tea in the fridge. It sat there for a week before I poured it down the drain. I asked Liam once what it was all about. It's a collaborative storytelling game, babe. It's about creativity and teamwork. It looks like you're doing math homework with weird-shaped dice. He sighed. The sigh of a man trying to explain color to a blind person. You wouldn't get it. That became a common refrain. Then came the next invasion. The plastic plague. Warhammer 40,000. Mark, the intense one, got Liam hooked. It started with a small box. Just a starter set, Liam said. Just to try it out. He cleared a small corner of his desk in the man cave. That corner grew. It metastasized. Soon, the entire desk was covered in tiny plastic soldiers on little black bases. Some were assembled, a sea of gray plastic. Some were in pieces on a sprue, whatever that is. Then came the paints. Dozens and dozens of tiny little pots with names like Nuln Oil and Agrax Earthshade. The smell. A chemical, acrid smell that clung to the carpet in the second bedroom. Our dining table, where we had once eaten romantic dinners, was now a designated painting station. He'd lay down newspaper and spend hours hunched over, a tiny brush in hand, a magnifying visor on his head like some kind of demented jeweler. He was painting little green monsters with boils and guts hanging out. They're Nurgle Plague Marines, babe. They represent decay and entropy. Isn't the aesthetic cool? They're disgusting, Liam, and they're on the table where we eat. I'll clean it up before we eat, I promise. He rarely did. I'd have to carefully wipe away little flecks of Death Guard green before putting down our plates. The money. Oh God, the money. I once asked how much a little plastic guy cost. This squad of 5 was about $60. 60? For that? I pointed at 5 gray plastic figures that were smaller than my thumb. Yeah. And then you have to get the paints, and the brushes, and the glue, and the codex. My eye twitched. The next week, I suggested we go away for a weekend. A little cabin upstate. Reconnect. I don't know, babe. Money's a little tight this month. That evening, a large box from Games Workshop arrived. He called it an impulsor. It looked like a plastic shoebox with guns. It cost over $100. I didn't speak to him for the rest of the night. He didn't seem to notice. He was too busy clipping plastic pieces and sniffing the glue. Our intimacy started to fade. It used to be that he couldn't keep his hands off me. Now his hands were covered in paint or holding a game controller. He'd stay up until 3 a.m., not with me, but on Discord. I could hear the murmur of their voices from the other room. Laughter, shouting, the language of their tribe. I started to feel like a ghost in my own home. I'd walk out of the bedroom in a new lingerie set I had bought specifically to get his attention. He'd glance up from his phone. Oh, hey, babe. Looks nice. Then right back to the screen. I'd stand there for a full minute, feeling foolish and invisible, before quietly going back to the bedroom to change. The excuses became more frequent. Can't do date night this Thursday, babe. Chris is hosting a magic tournament. What's wrong with Friday? Friday is D&D, you know this. So you get 2 nights with them and I get 0 with you? We live together. I see you all the time. He didn't see me. He saw a roommate. A piece of furniture I tried to take an interest. I really, truly did. I swallowed my pride. One evening, I walked into the man cave while he was painting. Hey, I said softly. What you working on? Just highlighting the armor panels on my Blightlord Terminators. Cool. Can I try? He looked at me, then at his precious plastic men, like I was a toddler asking to hold a priceless vase. I don't know. It takes a really steady hand. I do my own eyeliner, Liam. I think I can handle it. He reluctantly handed me a brush and a model he clearly didn't care about. A little one-eyed goblin thing. A nurgling, he called it. Okay, so just take a tiny bit of this lighter green and just catch the edge of the boils. My hand was shaking a little. I was so nervous. I just wanted this to be a moment for us. I dipped the brush and tried to paint. The paint went on too thick. A clumsy green glob on the creature's head. Whoa, he said, snatching it from my hand. You're supposed to thin your paints. Basic stuff. Oh man, you've clogged the details. He spent the next 10 minutes trying to fix my mistake, muttering under his breath. I backed out of the room. I didn't cry until I got to the bathroom and turned the shower on so he wouldn't hear me. That was the last time I tried to enter his world. I started getting bitter. I'll admit it. I'd make snide comments. Have fun with your little dolls tonight. Don't stay up too late playing your children's card game. He'd either ignore me or just give me a tired look. It's a complex strategy game. The fighting got worse. It wasn't just passive aggression anymore. It was full-blown arguments, usually on Sunday nights, after he had spent the entire weekend immersed in his hobbies. I feel like I don't even have a boyfriend anymore, Liam. What are you talking about? I'm right here. No, you're not. Your body is here, but your mind is on some stupid planet with space elves or whatever. You care more about those stupid pieces of plastic than you do about me. That's not true, and it's not fair. You can have your hobbies, and I can't have mine. My hobbies are Pilates and reading books. They don't take over our entire apartment and consume every waking moment of your life. It's not every waking moment. God, you're being so dramatic. It would end in a stalemate. He'd retreat to his cave. I'd retreat to the bedroom. The apartment would be silent, charged with resentment. The breaking point came on our 3rd anniversary. 3 years. A milestone. I decided to pull out all the stops. I was going to save us. I was going to remind him of what we had. I made a reservation at that fancy steakhouse he loved, the one we went to on our 1st anniversary. I bought a new dress. Black, slinky, the kind he used to go crazy for. I spent all afternoon getting ready. Hair, makeup, the works. I looked incredible. I was just putting on my earrings when my phone buzzed. A text from him. Hey, so sorry, babe, something's come up. Can't make it tonight. My blood ran cold. I called him immediately. It went to voicemail. I called again. Voicemail. I started to panic. Was he in an accident? Was he hurt? I texted him back. What's wrong? Are you okay? Where are you? 5 minutes later, he replied, I'm at Dave's. His mom had a fall. She's in the hospital. The guys and I are here to support him. It's really bad. I'll call you later. Happy anniversary. I love you. My anger immediately deflated, replaced by a wave of guilt. His friend's mom was in the hospital. Of course he had to be there. I was a monster for being angry. I texted back, Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do? Tell Dave I'm thinking of him. I took off the dress. I wiped off my makeup. I ordered a pizza and watched The Notebook, crying for multiple reasons. The next day I felt terrible for him. For Dave, I decided to make a casserole. It's what you do when someone's mom is in the hospital. A nice, comforting lasagna. I spent the afternoon cooking. It felt good to do something. I texted Liam, Hey, I made a lasagna for Dave and his family. I can drop it off at his place. No reply. I figured they were at the hospital. I knew where Dave lived. It was a 20-minute drive. I put the hot lasagna in a carrier and drove over. I walked up to Dave's front door. I could hear them inside. Not hushed, somber tones, not worried conversation. I heard shouting, laughter. I heard Dave's booming voice. I am moving my entire fleet to the Mechatol Rex system for the glory of the Emirates of Hakan. I froze, my hand hovering over the doorbell. I peeked through the window. There they were. Liam, Dave, Mark, and Chris, sitting around a huge table covered in a giant galaxy print game board and hundreds of little plastic spaceships. There was no sign of grief, no worry. They were drinking beer. They were eating chips. Dave's mom wasn't there. Dave's dad wasn't there. Liam was laughing. A big, genuine laugh. The kind I hadn't heard from him in months. He looked happy. He looked relaxed. He looked like a man who had gotten out of jail. I stood there on the porch, holding a lasagna that suddenly felt like the heaviest thing in the world. I didn't ring the bell. I walked back to my car, put the lasagna on the passenger seat, and drove home in a state of cold, quiet rage. He came home late that night. He tried to be quiet, but I was awake, waiting. I was sitting on the couch in the dark. "Hey," he whispered, fumbling for the light. "Don't," I said. My voice was flat. He stopped. "You're still up. How's Dave's mom?" I could see his silhouette stiffen. She's stable. They're keeping her overnight for observation." A perfect, practiced lie. "That's good," I said. "It's great you guys could be there for him, to support him." "Yeah, well, that's what friends do." "And what was the game you were playing?" "To support him?" Silence. The kind of silence that is louder than any explosion. "What are you talking about?" he finally managed to say. "I went to Dave's, Liam. I brought a lasagna. For the grieving family." I turned on a lamp. The look on his face was a mixture of panic and exhaustion. He wasn't even smart enough to look guilty. I looked through the window. It looked like you were all having a great time, fighting for the glory of the Emirates of whatever. "Look, it's not what you think. Isn't it?" I stood up. "Isn't it exactly what I think? You lied to me. You blew off our anniversary, our 3-year anniversary, to play a board game. It helped him take his mind off it. It's a 12-hour game. It's a huge commitment. We had it planned. You had it planned? On our anniversary? I forgot, okay?" It slipped my mind. That was it. That was the line. "You forgot." I said it slowly, letting each word hang in the air. "You forgot about the person you supposedly love. You forgot about 3 years of our lives. But you remembered the rules to your little galaxy game. You remembered to bring the beer. You remembered to lie. All the frustration, the loneliness, the nights spent feeling invisible, it all came pouring out of me. I was screaming. I was crying. I was throwing the decorative throw pillows. You care more about them than me. You care more about this stuff, this plastic junk. It's pathetic. It's my hobby. It's what I like to do," he yelled back. "So you don't like to do things with me anymore?" "Is that it?" "It's not that. It's just, with them it's easy. It's fun. I don't have to try." The words hit me harder than a slap. "You have to try? With me? That's not what I meant." "No, that's exactly what you meant." I was sobbing now. "I'm work. I'm an obligation. Your friends are fun. I get it." I sank onto the couch, defeated. "You have to choose, Liam," I whispered. "You can't have both. You can't have this life with me and that life with them. It's me or it's them." It was the ultimate ultimatum. I was sure I knew how he would answer. He would break down. He would apologize. He would promise to change, to sell the little plastic men, to quit the stupid elf game. He would choose me. He just stood there. The anger had drained from his face. He looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in what felt like a year, and there was nothing there. No love, no pain, no conflict, just weariness. He let out a long, slow breath, the sound of a final decision being made. "You're right," he said, his voice quiet. "I do have to choose." He walked past me, into our bedroom. I heard him opening drawers. He came back out with a duffel bag. He started putting his things in it. A few changes of clothes, his laptop, his toothbrush. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice trembling. "I'm going to go stay at Dave's for a few days," he said, not looking at me. "I think we need some space." "You're choosing them." It wasn't a question. It was a statement of fact. He stopped packing. He finally looked at me again. "Yeah," he said, "I guess I am." He zipped up the bag, walked to the door, and left. He didn't say goodbye. He didn't say I love you. The door clicked shut, and I was alone in the quiet apartment. He chose his friends over me. He chose Dungeons and Dragons and plastic toys over a future with me. I couldn't comprehend it. The next week was a blur of crying and phone calls to my friends who all told me what a monster he was. He came by one afternoon when I was at work to get the rest of his things. He didn't take the couch or the TV or the good kitchen knives. He just took his clothes, his computer, and about 10 large cardboard boxes filled with his games, his painted figures, his rule books, his real treasures. Months passed. The gaping wound in my life slowly started to scar over. I rearranged the apartment. I made the man cave into a guest room/yoga studio. I cleansed the place of his nerdy energy, but I still thought about him. I still stalked his social media. Pathological, I know. I'd see pictures of him and the nerd herd. They went to conventions, they hosted big game nights. He looked happy, thinner, but happy. It was a constant twisting knife in my gut. He was thriving without me. Then, about 6 months after the breakup, I saw it. A photo Mark had posted. It was a big group shot from a Warhammer tournament, and Liam was in the picture. His arm was around a girl. She wasn't my type, to put it mildly. She had brightly colored pink hair, cut short, big, thick-rimmed glasses. She was wearing a t-shirt with some kind of cartoon skull on it. She was one of them. I felt a sick sense of victory. Of course, he'd downgraded. But then I looked closer. In the photo, Liam was smiling, and she was smiling back at him. In her other hand, she was holding a collection of beautifully painted miniatures, her own. I clicked on her tagged profile. Her entire feed was pictures of her hobbies, pictures of her painting, pictures of her playing D&D, pictures of her at a computer, coding. There was a picture of her and Liam in his old man cave, which was now their man cave. They were sitting side by side at the desk, each painting their own little figures, a companionable silence between them. There was another photo of them on a weekend trip. They weren't at a beach resort. They were at a gaming convention, holding hands and posing with someone in a cheap-looking alien costume. They looked ecstatic. And that's when it finally hit me. The horrible, crushing, soul-destroying truth. The lasagna on the porch. The ignored lingerie. The smell of paint. The sound of dice. The ultimatum. I had been so focused on the symptoms that I never saw the disease. The problem wasn't the hobbies. The problem wasn't the friends. It was me. I realized he didn't choose his friends over me. He didn't even choose her over me. He just chose a life where he didn't have to lie about being happy. And his friends weren't a fortress he was hiding in. They were just the first people to show him the escape route. And I'll never forgive him for making me see that.